Hello, welcome to Biology, the science study of life. The immune system. Reconnaissance, recognition, and response. An animal must defend itself against the many potentially dangerous viruses, bacteria, and other pathogens it encounters in the air, in food, and in water. It must also contend with abnormal body cells that may develop into cancer. Two major kinds of defense have evolved that counter these threats. The first, called innate immunity. It presents before any exposure to pathogens and is effective from the time of birth. Innate defenses are largely non-specific, quickly recognizing and responding to a broad range of microbes, regardless of their precise identity. Innate immunity consists of external barriers formed by the skin and mucous membranes, plus a set of internal cellular and chemical defenses that combat infectious agents that breach the external barriers. Key players in these internal defenses are macrophages and other phagocytic cells, which ingest and then destroy pathogens. For example, notice this figure. A colorized SEM shows a macrophage engulfing a yeast cell. A second major kind of defense is acquired immunity, also called adaptive immunity. It develops only after exposure to inducing agents such as microbes, abnormal body cells, toxins, or other foreign substances. Acquired defenses are highly specific, that is, they can distinguish one inducing agent from another, even those that differ only slightly. This recognition is achieved by white blood cells called lymphocytes, which produce two types of immune responses. In the humoral response, cells derived from beta lymphocytes secrete defensive proteins called antibodies that bind to microbes and mark them from elimination. In the cell-mediated response, cytotoxic lymphocytes directly destroy affected body cells, cancer cells, or foreign tissue. Immunity or innate immunity provides broad defenses against infection. An invading microbe must penetrate the external barriers formed by an animal's skin and mucous membranes, which cover the surface and line the openings of the body. A pathogen that successfully breaks through these external fences soon encounters several innate cellular and chemical mechanisms that embed its attack on the body. External defenses. Intact skin is a barrier that cannot normally be penetrated by viruses or bacteria, but even tiny abrasions may allow their passage. Likewise, the mucous membranes lining the digestive, respiratory, and genitourinary tracts bar the entry of potentially harmful microbes. Certain cells of these mucous membranes also produce mucus, a viscous fluid that traps microbes and other particles. In the trachea, for example, ciliated epithelial cells sweep mucus and any intrepid microbes upward, preventing the microbes from entering the lungs. Microbial colonization. This figure, notice that, shows that microbial colonization of the body is also inhibited by the washing action of the mucous secretions, slavia, and tears that constantly bathe the surfaces of various exposed epithelia. Um, Beyond their physical role in inhibiting microbe entry, secretions of the skin and mucous membranes provide an environment that is often hostile to microbes. In human, secretions from sebaceous oil glands and sweat glands give the skin a pH ranging from 3 to 5, which is acidic enough to prevent colonization by many microbes, bacteria that normally inhabit the skin and are adapted to its acidic, relatively dry environments. Similarly, microbes in food or water and those in solid mucus that must contend with the acidic environment of the stomach, which destroys most pathogens before they can enter the intestines, but some pathogens such as hepatitis A virus can survive gastric acidity and successfully enter the body via the digestive tract. Secretions from the skin and mucous membranes also contain antimicrobial proteins. One such protein is lysozyme. Lysozyme, an enzyme that digests the cell walls of many bacteria present in saliva, tears, and mucous secretions. Lysozyme can destroy susceptible bacteria as they enter the upper respiratory tract on the openings around the eyes. Internal cellular and chemical defenses. Microbes that penetrate the body's external defenses, such as those that enter through the break in the skin, must content with the body internal mechanisms of innate defense. These defenses depend mainly on phagocytosis, the ingestion of invading microorganisms by certain types of white blood cells, generally referred to as phagocytes. These cells produce certain antimicrobial proteins and help initiate inflammation, which can limit the spread of microbes in the body. Non-phagocytic white blood cells, called natural killer cells, also play a key role in innate defenses. The various non-specific mechanisms help limit the spread of microbes before the body can acquire specific immune responses. Phagocytic cells. Phagocytes attach to their prey via surface receptors that bind to structures found on many microorganisms but not on normal body cells. Among the structures bound by these receptors are certain polysaccharides on the surface of bacteria. After attaching to one or more microbes, a phagocyte engulfs the microbes, forming a vacuole that fuses with a lysosome. Microbes are destroyed by lysosomes in two ways. First, nitric oxide and other toxic forms of oxygen contained in the lysosomes may poison the engulfed microbes. Second, lysosome and other enzymes degrade microbial components. Some microorganisms have adaptations that enable them to evade destruction by phagocytic cells. For example, the outer capsule that surrounds some bacterial cells hides the surface polysaccharides and prevents phagocytes from attaching to them. Other bacteria such as Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which causes tuberculosis, are rudely bound and engulfed by phagocytes, but are resistant to destruction within lysosomes because they are effectively hidden from the acquired defenses of the body. Evolution of these and other mechanisms that prevent destruction by the immune system has increased the phagogenetic threat of many microbes. 4 types of white blood cells, leukocytes, are phagocytic and they differ in their abundance, average lifespan, and phagocytic ability. By far the most abundant are neutrophils, which constitute about 60 to 70% of all white blood cells. Neutrophils are attracted to and then enter infected tissue, engulfing and destroying the microbes there. However, neutrophils tend to self-destruct in the process of phagocytosis, and their average lifespan is only a few days. An even more effective phagocytic defense comes from macrophages, big eaters. These large, long-lived cells develop from monocytes, which constitute about 5% of circulating white blood cells. In your monocytes circulate in the blood for only a few hours and then migrate into tissues. Where they are transformed into macrophages, carrying out phagocytosis sets of internal signaling pathways that activate the macrophages, increasing their defensive abilities in various ways. Some macrophages migrate through the body, while others reside permanently in various organs and tissues. Macrophages that are permanent residents in the spleen, and lymph nodes and other tissues of the lymphatic system are particularly well positioned to combat infectious agent. Microbes that enter the blood becomes trapped in the net-like architecture of the spleen, whereas microbes in interstitial fluid flow into lymph and are trapped in lymph nodes. In other locations, microbes soon encounter resident macrophages. Shows notice this figure. Shows the components of the lymphatic system and summarizes its role in the body's defenses. The other two types of phagocytes are less abundant and play a more limited role in innate defense. That neutrophils and macrophages. Eosinophils have low phagocytic activity but are critical to defense against multicellular parasitic invaders such as blood floc, Schistosoma mansoni, rather than engulfing such rather than engulfing such a parasite. Eosinophils position them slaves against the parasite's body and then discharge destructive enzymes that damage the invader. The fourth type of phagocyte, dendritic cells, can ingest microbes like macrophages do. However, their primary role is to stimulate the development of acquired immunity. Antimicrobial proteins, numerous proteins, functions in innate defense by attacking microbes directly or by impeding their reproduction. The antimicrobial action of lysosome. Other antimicrobial protein include about 30 serum proteins that make up the complement